Hello guys and welcome to a new episode of Death Blow Podcast. Here we talk about black metal, death metal and why not, even about depressive black metal. If you want this, just write a comment or even write me at Instagram or even on Facebook in a private message if you have suggestions or thoughts even about this. Do you want that I talk about depressive black metal or not? It's your choice. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, click on the bell, like and share, and even listen to me on Spotify, Google Podcast and Apple Podcast, where you can listen all my audio recordings and all the episodes. So a new year is arrived and 2022 is a new year of new episodes of the Blow Podcast. In fact, today I want to talk with you about a new band that is called Corpus Vitreum. This band is a metal studio project of two musicians, Sebastian Byron Mirgeler and Matthäus Thomas Kuska from Germany. They formed in 2019 in Bonn. It's an invasion of melancholic, atmospheric and agnostic music that started from interplays with guitars only, and the instruments were included during compositions of the songs. The atmosphere was accompanied with empathic and emotional vocals by Sebastian Mirgeler. The recording of a debut album started in 2020 and finished in 2021. Each song of this band is recognized as a standalone work. Every song is published monthly as singles according to the lunar month at new moon. The monument songs are previewed at full moon with a silent, quiet instrumental version. Each piece of music is presented with its own artwork and photography heirloom, which is very particular and even artistic and dark. The atmosphere that this band creates switches from creepy with feelings and thoughtful parts. Great concepts are ambitious arrangements that are influenced by different music and metal styles like black doom, black gaze, but also music from the 70s and 80s. The lyrics talk about depression, sadness, and are a psychological aspect and even a philosophical aspect that are inside the darkness and horror fantasy worlds. The aim is to yearn a musical escape in which people immerse, get lost, and even drown. The result shows the fragility of everything. If you're more curious, just go on corpusvitreum.com for all the informations and even the social network accounts of the band. Are you curious about the discography? If you are, let's start right now to tell you the names of the discography. Lunar Horizon came in 2021. To be more accurate, April 12, it's an independent label. Second single came out May 11, 2021, it's called Behemoth of the North. Third single came out on June 10, 2021, it's called Morbid Mind. Fourth single came out July 10, it contains two tracks, A Fragile Dawn and The Roots of A Fragile Dawn, which are an instrumental version of the track. Next single is Old Wars, came out on August 8 and contained two tracks, Old Wars and The Roots of Old Wars, which the second one, The Roots of, it's instrumental. Beast of Misery came out on September 7, 2021 and is a single. It's called Beast of Misery and the second track is The Roots of Beast of Misery. Next single is called Steel Coffins, came out October 6, 2021. and contains 2 tracks, Steel Coffins and The Roots of Steel Coffins. That's an instrumental version of the track. March to Midgard, November 4th, 2021, contains the 2 tracks with the same name. And next single is called The Hymn of the Hurting Moment, came out December 4th, 2021. I tried to search about the lyrics of this band, and about the Hymn of the Hurting Moment I want to stop a little to analyze the lyrics, which is important. There is an important passage of these lyrics, especially when they talk about until they turn me out of my dark shelter. I think they want to describe how world is hostile many times, so I really agree about this. And talking about it, it's important to release this anger and this sadness. Meanwhile, the deaf sings the hymn of hurting moment and laughs out loud about the living. It seems like the deaf is laughing. I think it's a sort of metaphor to talk about it and say something like death is something that could kill people. It's something that could arrive and kill everybody. So it has an important power, death itself. And the death that could arrive and kill everybody is an important power. So you realize that death take your own soul and bring you on the other side, which is something that when you think, more you think about it and more you are powerful but even powerless. Depends how you look at life. Because life is relative, and the way you look at life is different from every single person, depends on the perspective every single person has, so it's not equal for each one. I still hear the yelling voices of my comrades who have fallen. I still see the mercy in her essence and her beauty in the first light of the day. It seems like dead people can still talk, or still can be perceived by the alive one. So I think in a certain way the ghost of the dead people could still haunt the alive one. So this is very important to talk about, because he says, of my comrades who have fallen, I still see the mercy of her essence and the beauty in the first light of the day. So it is something that makes me think that death could be even beautiful. Depends on the perspective you look at it, which is very important to see in this way. Then, after a never-ending night of love, all those moments seem so endless as the paths we forge together, but only the mirage will be my fellow, until I disintegrate into the realm of death. It's like death arrives suddenly in your life. It could bring you away from every single thing you built. So it is something that makes you think. It's the philosophy of death and even the philosophy of life. So makes me think something like death arrives and takes you away from this life and from this earth. But the soul, nobody knows where it goes. Certain people, terrorists, say that after you're dead, you're dead. You are like dust and there's no life after the death. Which instead of the people, especially the religious ones, believe that there is a heaven or hell. So there are many concepts related to the death itself. And it is interesting to realize and to think about it. I think that it's very important to talk about death. Many people, when they need to talk about death, they just go away, they just look at you very bad, and they just want to switch the argument with another one, which is very typical of people that have fear of death. And what about you? Do you have fear of death? Let's write in the comments, talk in the comments about what you think, because I want to hear even your opinion about the death. No sacrifice will stop the relentless march of the sun. Resistance is senseless. Against the legion of shades, the treasure of infinity, a bitter melting illusion. This makes me think that death has an incredible power. March of the sun makes me think to the march of life. There's something that is like the sun, black and white. The yin and the yang, for example. I imagine light and dark, the duality we are living in this world. So about this made me think a lot of the sun that is the light and the war against the light and dark, because then he says, against the legend of shades, the treasure of infinity, a bitter melting illusion. It's the illusion of duality. Makes me think that at the end light and dark are the same thing, are not different parts, but are the same coin. So all is one and everything is relative. Makes me think to this. So light and dark, life and death are the same thing probably, and probably it's our mind that perceive in a different way. So everything is relative. Everything is part of your own perspective and how you look at it, which is very important to think about these important topics like duality, life and death, or black and white. It's something that we all people, religious, not religious, I imagine society that is religious, not religious, people that use meditation and all of it. There are different paths that people have in this life. So this made me think a lot to this thing in particular. You can have all different paths, but at the same time you will die like the other person. So we all have one own destiny that we all need to die. So next single is The Blackened Sea. Came out on January 2nd, 2022, independent, and two songs, of course, The Blackened Sea and The Roots of the Blackened Sea, which is instrumental. Analyzing a bit the lyrics, I understand how deep their lyrics are. My consciousness, a lonely boat in the dark, constantly driven by the breeze of thoughts. Everything else lies in the depth, or haunts me from the infinite vastness, but they are there. They live within the ocean that is me. Makes me think that the thoughts could be even dark and could haunt our minds. The dark is evil sometimes. So makes me think a lot these lyrics, especially here, eaten by white walls of torn apart and twisted, recreated memories, no foghorn to prevent, no stars to stay on target, no anchor heavy enough to hold. I sailed through undead creatures, beyond any myths, lost among cruel personalities, disturbed by forbidden desires that appear and disappear until I make my peace with them. Makes me think to the war against our minds, the war that never ends, that could be infinite and could provoke not only sadness, anger and other evil emotions, but even a deep depression. It doesn't permit to us to live in a good way. So this could haunt for the rest of our lives if we don't heal depression or anxiety or other disturbs basically. When he talks about the cruel personalities, make me think a lot of many disturbs, some depression or anxiety or other problems. I'm not a psychologist myself, but there are so many disturbs that it's even difficult to recognize which one. But they have something in common. They disturb the mind of the patient. So this is something that make me think that this darkness that people live inside could haunt for the rest of their own life. They are there and scale me, dancing madly through my dark water. They whisper and scream, rise up the waves. I feel alone outside of my high sea. I'm afraid, they make me sick, they drive me insane. These disturbs cause a lot of problems inside the minds of people and cause a lot of darkness, and don't make you feel the patient live in peace, and this is a problem. Here says something important: tormented by my emotions, a restless face that lets me know I'm still alive, I struggling against the whimpering wind that's howling his mendacious narratives. I maintain the equilibrium in their conjured storm of fear, a never-ending maelstrom, from here to the end of my horizon. Evil spirits spin their mournful yarn of indifference around my rotten. Makes me think to demons that could haunt people's minds and could make them feel bad about themselves. How many times we question fears, depressions, anxiety, and it's all cause of our perception of reality. And more we perceive this reality in a bad way, and more influence the present moment and influence us in a bad way. And we are not able to think in a good way in the moment. We are just surrounded by this darkness, and we can't be happy and be okay with ourselves. How many times we saw ourselves in front of a mirror and we saw our image. But I'm not fine. I am so bad. I'm not beautiful. How many people are struggling with the beauty right now, and they say, I'm not so beautiful, nobody cares, I feel I'm fat, I'm ugly, or other very bad adjectives that people take and people apply to themselves. It's typical of them, to people that are suffering about these bad perceptions of reality. And it's something that it happened to the major part of people, and every single of us suffered at least once in their lifetime about something like that. It's very important to release this anger and sadness and even these fears and this bad perception of this society or ourselves. And inside our minds we create a dark world, dark thoughts, and even dark brain that we create with these evil words that we apply to ourselves. And this doesn't help. Doesn't help you, doesn't help me, doesn't help nobody. So it's important instead to see the world in a different way. Why not try today? In the description below the video I will insert the links of this band, so check it out and listen to them. Thank you to have participated with me on this episode of That Blog Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on my YouTube channel, click on the bell, like and share, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And don't forget even to listen my audio recordings on Spotify, Google Podcast and Apple Podcast. See you soon guys on the next episode!